Your last memorable film screening, other people's films, that is, you know, your last memorable film. Do you have a film that stuck to your mind you have watched recently?
No, I have a few movies stuck in my mind since ever.
Forever, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or probably the very first one was Erik Vostroheim, Greed.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So I have seen 2 hours and a half in French Cinematheque because that's all Langlois at that time had, and he presented, explained that the bad guys cut and throw away the rest of it.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Probably I discovered for this first time that cinema could have tragedies.
Yes.
Because I'm coming from a country like Greece, where used to show us westerns, action movies, and you know that kind of movies in that period. And I discovered in France that was different.
Also, that's kind of complete change in your perception of
drastic
change.
Drastic change.
And how did that influence you from on a more personal level? How do you perceive the art of cinema? You know, it could be more serious, perhaps, or can deal with more substantial topics, etc. Apart from comedies.
You spoke about auto cinema.
Yeah.
Auto cinema, I like that expression because it means you do something coming from you. I believe so. If it's no idea.
Yeah, like the auteur, of course.
That's right. And I discovered that in France, that particularly with the new La Nouvelle Vague, the new wave, was coming from other people who have done it in Italy, the Italian period, the Grand Italian period. And that was another discovery. Because Greed, for me, was like the ancient tragedy. I mean, those big themes with a lot of people, a lot of themes for the audience. But then we came back with the Nouvelle Vague to the very personal things.
Yeah.
And I think that was very important. It was Nouvelle Vague was also in Cassavetes in the United States.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
it's a very difficult country for do that kind of to make that kind of movies. And I was thinking about that. How I can express myself with what I believe, little by little. Not the first movies, but after a while. Because the first movies were almost accident, professional movies, which I like still.
Yeah.
And but the problem I had, I was not someone like the young directors, La Nouvelle Vague, who are coming from the high bourgeoisie society, except Truffaut. So I didn't have those elements. So I tried to make personal movies with personal knowledge, which also, the base was of course Americans, and then French, and then Swedish, because Swedish was very important for us. Bergman was someone who go around to see what Bergman did, and how he did it, and why he did it. Those was important things to us.
What attracted you specifically to Bergman? Do you remember how Bergman caught your eye, so to speak, in his...
Not the idea, his stories, first of it, and the way he used to the camera. The camera, it's, for me, the plans, not the camera as a machine, but it's like the sentences in a book. The way he used it was amazing. How the characters were close or not close one to the other. The relationship, he didn't have to explain them with words or whatever. It was the images.
The images.
That was fascinating. And the image used to say 10 more things than if it was written or whatever. And camera, quiet. Not running after the thing.
No.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. That was the big lesson. And of course his themes. That was the other side of it. Even if they're coming from a society completely different.
From his, of course, yeah.
But there was always human beings.
In the end.
Yeah.
Thinking about your themes and your topics, I know they're a bit different from Bergman as well. Bergman is more intimate in that sense. He doesn't necessarily become political or taking the wide world, so to speak. Your approach is a bit different, I think. I'm wondering, where does your idea start? Where do you find your topics? Is it in the surrounding society? Is that where you're the spark?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's the relationship with the society. But essentially, as I see it myself, in a good or a bad way, whatever. It was us. I was the, let's say, the first spectator for the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, if I like it, probably they will like it. If they don't like it, they don't like it.
No.
So,
No.
but the general idea that it was that.
Yeah.
And also with the education I had, because all the education I was saying about cinema, but also literature, about society, I learned in France, which was not early, it was late. I was over more than 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you didn't begin your studies in film at first. You studied something else first and came to France, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Literature.
Literature,
in Sorbonne. Sorbonne.
So what made you change subject? What was kind of the tipping
Greed.
point? It was greed.
It was greed.
It was greed.
Because it was a tragedy.
Specifically. Yeah.
Because we can have tragedies in the cinema.
Yeah, as well. And did you want to do tragedies? Was that your idea?
No, I do something different. I make cowboys who fight, win always.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. And the good guy who, it's at the end, he triumphs at the end. Which is not the tragedy, which is relayed for us. Yeah, well, anyway.
Yeah.
But it was great cinema also. But the great part of the American cinema I discovered in France.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, one thing is we're going to talk about that and the element of suspense, of course, later on. But I'm thinking you have a different kind of suspense when you talk about movies. It's a lot about rhythm and pulse, which I think you very often excel in, and you know exactly. Even if it's a last breath, it's a very different kind of movie, but you have a very distinct element of suspense on a much more, subtle level, so to speak. But was it also greed that made you feel that? Did you feel that suspenseful when you watched it, or does this idea of
course. When they cross the desert, fighting, I would say, what will happen?
Yeah.
But the suspense is the base of a show, the base of the life. Every morning you wake up and take the newspaper or the news to so what's happened. So the suspense to know what's going to be next and how I can live with this or can survive or whatever. So it's bad. Now, how many you used to that suspense? How you do it? Of course, it's like, in the old story, you're in a dark apartment, you walk like this and you hit the cat. He says, yeah! And everybody jumps up. It's a kind of suspense.
Yeah, of course.
But it's not the story. I mean, the suspense can be, we come back to the tragedies, we come back to the big movies. Tragedies can be quiet, coming up little by little. So sometimes you succeed to have it or to convince the audience there is suspense. Sometimes no, sometimes they see the end already. So,
but that's interesting too. If I argue like this, that you use suspense to tell more of a tragic story than shooting cowboys, you use the elements of suspense, the kind of thing.
This suspense, that's all.
Yeah. And then that was, of course, groundbreaking when you made your early films. And it's been copied ever after, so that's why you're kind of an icon in that sense. But it's very interesting that when you think back on the old films, sure, silent movies, for instance, they're all very suspenseful, of course.
Yes.
But the topics are rarely, they're more about finding something or in a fight, or say it's not that kind of deep, societal context. Of course, the Phantom Carriage, it touches upon perhaps.
That's right.
The elements, but otherwise, it was something new in the 60s. And Nouvelle Vague as well, of course, about political aspects, but not that much. It was more about growing up and finding your position as a young individual. So it's different.
The Nouvelle Vague is when you have two persons get together, a girl and a boy.
Yeah, that's kind of
this first suspense that's there. That's right.
Yeah.
But for the silent period, you have a lot of movies with strong suspense, with strong contain. we see, but it's not really completely silent period. It's Napoleon by Abel Gance, which is an extraordinary movie. When you see what we have restored in the Cinematheque, it's amazing the modernity of the movie, the way he used the camera, the battles. There is no really battles, but you understand battles with gestures. And so I believe sometimes that silent periods, they have done everything.
Yeah.
We repeat things.
Yeah. We're adding sound and perhaps more things, but yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. No, but of course it's interesting with storytelling. If you don't have any sound cues, you have to be very careful about the editing, about the framing, about
the images.
Yeah.
To say with images,
yes.
Faces, with movement, human movement, and so forth. That was the big difficulty they had, but they went through in a perfect way. They did extraordinary things, and we should not forget that we have 75% of what they have done. The rest of it was destroyed completely.
Yeah, that's right.
So what we have, it's really exceptional.